Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Raise.dev Hacktoberfest Help Desk. My name is Joe, and I am your host for today's show. For those of you who are new to the Help Desk, we're coming at you live 3 times a day throughout Hacktoberfest, throughout the month of October, to help you land your Hacktoberfest pull requests, whether that means answering your questions here in chat, answering questions you submit to us in advance, or helping you find new projects and ways to contribute to those projects. So this is our first show of the day. We have 2 more shows coming up for you after this, and I'll talk about them towards the end of the show, so stick around for our schedule preview. But in the meantime, if you do want to see what's coming up for the rest of the day and the rest of the week on the show, you can check out twitch.tv, RaiseDev's schedule. But before that, we do have a special guest today, so I will bring them on shortly and we'll get going. But a couple of house notes and administrivia and that kind of fun thing. I've already told you where to find the schedule. The other big note is, I said, you can ask questions in chat as we go along. Constant reminder, which gets disregarded every time. We do have a moderation bot that is filtering for links because we get a lot of spam bots because the internet is terrible. So if you want to post a URL in chat, you're very welcome to post a URL in chat. If you want to link to your own project or link to something that's relevant or not relevant, whatever, you can link to whatever you want. That's very welcome. Just let us know at RaiseDevs in chat, give me a warning, and I will then permit you to post a link. At least once a stream, someone gets themselves banned by the bot. Don't let that be you. Let me know before you post a link. The next thing up is, if you want to ask a question and you don't want to ask it during the show, you don't want to ask in chat, you can submit questions in advance at raise.dev Hacktoberfest. When you submit a question to us, we review it with our guests, answer it here live on the show, and send you an email with the answer. So you can submit those questions to raise.dev Hacktoberfest. If you ask us a question in the chat, which you can do at any time, we will do our best to answer it before the end of the show. If it's relevant to what we're talking about right now, we'll answer it right away. If it's on a bit of a different topic, we'll finish what we're talking about at the moment and come back to it later. The reason I'm talking about this is, for some reason this week, people keep coming onto the show to ask us if we're actually live because they think we're pre-recorded, because we don't instantly answer questions that aren't about what we're talking about. I'm sorry, folks. I just can't bring myself to interrupt a guest in mid-flow to answer a question about which university I went to. So we will get to your questions, but a little bit down the road. So please be patient for that. I can assure you, this is not pre-recorded. So the other bit of administrivia for the day is, if you haven't heard of Raise.dev before, who are we? What do we do? Why are we doing this? Raise.dev is a platform to help you level up in your developer career, whether you're trying to get your first developer job or trying to get a promotion or move from mid-level to senior, whatever it is. We have expert coaches from a variety of cool places and backgrounds on hand to help you get you the experience you need to make that jump in your career. And whilst you're in early access, you can find it entirely for free today at Raise.dev. So that's everything from me. That's my waffle. Let me bring on our guest for the day. Please welcome Beth to the stream. Hey, Beth, how you doing?
Hi.
So I do feel like we have to mention and be extremely thankful that Beth is joining us at about 4 a.m. So thank you for tuning in so late, and thank you for finding the energy this early in the morning to join us.
No, this is very cool. I really like what you guys been doing. So I make my coffee, have a whole pot on the side. And I'm going to slowly drink them for an hour and not sleep for the whole day.
Perfect. A whole pot is a good investment. So yeah, let's start off with a little introduction to you. Do you want to tell folks who you are and what you do?
I'm a software engineer. I'm working for Microsoft, specifically for a group called PAX. We are part of the Windows and Devices. I think it's called Experience and Devices.
Okay.
There's so, every other month there's like a new name for our organization.
Yeah.
So what PAX does, it's stand for Partners, Analytics, and Essential Experiences.
Okay.
So we have like different portions of the team that handles different things, but mainly we're in the first party and third party developer ecosystem, trying to help, bring our partners up to speed with some of the majority Windows tooling, but in my case, graph tooling as well, because a lot of our developers are in the web environment.
Right.
And through technologies such as PWA, you can bring web to your local experience very easily. So
yeah, super cool, awesome. So you must working in a team that's dealing with a lot of clients and partners and their experiences. You must be doing a lot of varied things and be seeing a lot of different projects day in and day out.
Yeah, we see some, early stages of, very early stages of like, how do I utilize these technologies to advance my scenario? And we also host a lot of hackathons with our partners in order to help them unblock with a lot of the problems. And Microsoft Graph Toolkit is actually that's how it was born. Because
Right.
we had a lot of collective asks from
Oh.
our partners for authentication around the Microsoft Graph, and that's when we were like, oh, let's just make it super simple. I say
Nice.
I have to mention Nicola is the founding member of this project, and he's the one that had all these fancy ideas of what we should do now. Now that
Nice.
I've kind of joined the team last year around the same
Cool.
time, November.
Yeah.
So my work is around like outside of contributing to our repo, my work is mostly around driving developer satisfaction and contribution.
Awesome.
This is why
Cool.
I'm here.
Wonderful. Yeah. So we will get into the project itself. So Microsoft Graph Toolkit is an open source project that Beth is going to show us. But before that, this was my first time encountering Microsoft Graph. What on earth is this? It looks super, super cool. Should I throw that screen up? Would that be useful?
No, I'm just trying to cheat and trying to find like the official, because there were so many words in one sentence that I was amazed at the other day when I was online.
Those dead bits of copy. Hey Rick, thanks for joining us.
Oh, hi. Anyway, so you're asking what is Microsoft Graph?
Yeah.
Let me give you the official version real quick.
Excellent.
Then
Cool.
I'll say how
So you can translate it for us.
How I understood it. It's really funny because I just gave a presentation. Was it yesterday? Oh man, time is a blur when it's early in the morning.
And also, especially this year, time is meaningless this year. I keep telling everyone it's still March.
It definitely feels like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A couple days ago, I was giving a talk at a university, and everybody was like, "So, what is Microsoft Graph? Do you mean like Outlook extension?" And I was like, "No." Anyways, the official version says Microsoft Graph is the gateway to data and intelligence in Microsoft 365, provides a unified programmability model that you can use to access the tremendous amount of data in Microsoft 365, Windows 10, and enterprise mobility and security. And it says use the wealth data in Microsoft Graph to build apps for organizations and consumers that interact with millions of users. So mostly what it means is there's the API layer. That's the one API that rules it all.
Cool.
Before the graph exists, if you wanted to build an app that connects with your productivity suites, then you have to call Outlook API specifically. SharePoint has their own endpoints. Imagine that you have to do, I wanted to get Excel from Excel, then you have to call Excel API. Now everything is unified.
Right.
The endpoint all start from, graph.microsoft.com/v1/whatever. And it is very centered around the user themselves. So if you have used the Microsoft Graph, then you will know the APIs are very centered around me. My people, my groups, things that happens around the user, whether you're sitting at your desk on the go or whatever you're doing. And it's worth mentioning that security is definitely a foundation layer as part of the Microsoft 365 platform. And there's a lot of other functionalities that you can connect to, such as there's things called a connector that enables, I think it's called a connector, enables search. And there's also the Microsoft Connect that enables analytics apps. I could have forgotten this the other way around too.
No, that looks correct. I've got the web page up, and Microsoft Graph connectors delivering data to the Microsoft Cloud in Microsoft Graph Service and applications. Yes, that sounds correct. Hey, Floor, thanks for joining us. Floor actually just tweeted to our Twitter that you were on Floor Show contributing today the other day as well.
Oh.
No, I think you've got that the right way around.
Okay. So that's how I understand it. So people or our developers or third-party, first-party developers build their, there's a lot of versions of productivity apps that you can build utilizing these data centered around people and the activities that happen around them.
Cool.
There's some very interesting scenarios lately, especially with the remote learning and the pandemic.
Yeah.
A lot of the schools are looking for third parties to build them remote learning scenarios, when you
Right.
think about that, and in an education tenant, graph helps a whole lot.
Right. Interesting. So I started putting a funny face while you were explaining that, because I suddenly had the realization. So you mentioned Excel and like getting cells from Excel, and like, is that a thing that's part of these APIs?
Yes, absolutely. So
Where sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, when I first start programming around or with, I guess, the graph, I was actually on the SDK team.
Right.
That was like 3-4 years ago, I guess.
Yeah.
Time flies. And we were branded as like Office extensibility team.
Right.
And a big thing that we do is called what's it called? Office add-ins.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently a lot of people build these fly-out panels that has like buttons and things that you can click that pulls data from a cell when you put in like cell name. You know, the traditional VBA developer time of age.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
yeah, that's the thing, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, so we're a couple of times on this show, we've been talking a lot about Airtable as like, you know, something that's kind of like a spreadsheet, but has an API that you can like build hacky internal tools and stuff on top of. And I'm a big fan of that approach. That's why I'm immediately now very excited about the concept of being able to do that with, you know, Excel, which is much more mature of a product than Airtable. Not to throw shade at Airtable. I still love you, Airtable. But this is cool.
I think more complete of a workflow could be, you know, you could get into a user's OneDrive and look at files that you both were working on. Maybe one of them is Excel file, then like you can open the Excel. If you had already have some sort of algorithm detecting, you know, a certain set of table or column names, then you can say like, oh, get me this column and this row. And as it changes every month, maybe you're building a dashboard, I don't know, then it gives you the right number from the file that you have access to and display it on somewhere that you want to, instead of in Excel. So within the context of where you work.
Yeah, that's really neat. And yeah, across like all of Microsoft 365, that's an enormous amount of data and capabilities. So I guess this is a good point to move into where the toolkit comes in, because as I said, although this is now like one, like it's now all those products unified under this one API into Microsoft Graph, that is probably still a monster of a surface area and product, right? And I guess this is where the toolkit comes in to help make that easier to work with.
Yeah, so I think I started talking about like the background of the toolkit when we first started. It was because a lot of the partners that we work with always come to us with questions such as, you know, there are, I don't know, 5 different ways of authenticating against a graph, and there's like application permissions and delegated permissions. Which one should I go with? And depends on the SDKs that I'm picking. There's different endpoints that I was supposed to call, and there's V1 and V2. Graph also has beta. Like, how do I do this? And it's kind of like, if you're not in the world of, you know, I don't know, Azure AD or auth, and you don't know the protocols when you're looking at these from a beginning perspective of view, when you're hitting a wall, you're just like, oh, I know nothing about this. You know, like, I don't know who to go to in order to solve my problems. So part of our team, like I mentioned before, is to unblock our partners in order to enable them to utilize Microsoft technology. So Nicola, I don't know, he's probably not here, he's still in bed, who started the toolkit, was like, oh, how about we just build a web component that, you know, enables the authentication scenario, which means that the component itself is fully functional. So we're handling all the plumbing behind the scenes for you. When you're adding this one HTML tag in your own, you know, front end code, it just works magically. And behind the scenes, you know, you don't really care about what happens if you only want to do front end authenticating. So that was what happened. And from there, we kind of expanded into taking into scenarios that we've, you know, interviewed our partners with and thought about how do we scale these components so that when we build one, multiple partners can be using it. And also taking inspirations from our community and saying like, oh, maybe, you know, a lot of people wanted to use the the first party experience is called Live Person Card, I think, or Persona, something like that. So we designed our own person card and person and person card that kind of matches that experience, because some of the APIs were still preview only. So that way, you know, a lot more people have access to it. And when we open source it, people were like, oh yeah, this is great.
Nice.
So that was how we started building it.
Cool.
I guess I kind of like glossed over on what the toolkit is. So we could go a little bit deeper into.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. That'd be. I'm really digging its little giraffe logo as well.
I didn't say anything about the giraffe.
Okay.
No, I've gotten slapped in the hand many times about the giraffe. So.
Oh really? Controversial giraffe. Okay.
It's funny. Everybody loves that logo, though.
Yeah.
We'll see if there's some variations that we can come up with. Or, you know what? If this is from the community, then like I won't take any responsibility from saying the giraffe is our logo. So then, you know.
I'm not telling anyone. Floor, who is also from Microsoft, is in the chat. Her ears are closed, so we're all good.
Yes. So what is the toolkit?
Yeah.
It is a. Hold on, let me find the official saying again. This has been interesting. I was like, you know, every time I have to come up with content on spot, I was always like, how do people come up with all these so official of a language online? Let me tell you.
We read the web pages. It's all good.
So the Microsoft Graph Toolkit is a collection of reusable and framework agnostic web components and helpers for accessing and working with Microsoft Graph. The components are fully functional right out of the box with built-in providers that authenticate with and fetch data from the graph. Okay, so what that means is breaking it down, right? Like, I kind of already touched on what we mean by reusable, but I think I could go a little bit deeper into the design decisions of us using web components.
That'd be great.
And I think we've
touched on web components a couple of times in the show, but it's always been kind of like an incidental level. Like we've gone for a framework that's using web components, and we haven't really gotten into, I guess, like the advantages of using them. So hearing your perspective on how this project ends up doing it would be wonderful. Yeah.
So a lot of people has asked, you know, Microsoft kind of made a bet on a front end technology, which is React. We build a lot of our design libraries in React. You know, a lot of our own web applications are built in Teams is probably trying to transition into React. Don't quote me on this. I actually don't know for sure. So when we were building them, we were kind of like, the first choice that we considered was, you know, we can build this as React components, which will definitely benefit everybody that's in the Microsoft bubble. And then when we think about it, thought about it, people on the team was like, well, what about people, you know, that uses just vanilla JavaScript, HTML, or Angular? You know, when you're writing Angular code and you have to do your own wrapper around your React component, sometimes it can be painful. So what's like the most standard way of building reusable components? So that's when we were like, oh, maybe web components is the way to go because it's built on web standard. So anywhere that any framework that you wanted to do, popular or not, as long as it's based on web standards, then you can definitely use our components. And to make it even better, because we think Microsoft made a bet on React, we recently released a new package. It's called MGT React. For people who specifically use the React language to be able to not write the plumbing code behind the scenes of the wrappers themselves anymore. So it's essentially a wrapper that takes in the web components that we have and spits out the React version of the components that everybody knows how to use.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm trying to find the link for that so I can drop it in chat. That sounds awesome. I think I've got it.
So that was one aspect of the Graph Toolkit. And I think I already kind of talked about it's fully functional. You know, it looks a very Microsoft 365
right. Yeah, which makes sense, given that it's operating.
Like if you want to build an app that looks like Microsoft apps, that's like how you want it to look like, right? So exactly, that's why we were like, oh, let's build things with the designs in mind that people are trying to build things that looks like Microsoft 365, but it's also very, very extensible and customizable. We supply you a lot of helper functions and HTML attributes to tweak, JavaScript properties, CSS custom properties for people to make it however you want to, like that looks like, what your company's design would be. So that was the other aspect of Graph Toolkit.
Awesome, very cool. Rad. And yeah, I guess on that, so I'm just saying hi to someone in chat. Hey, Jawari. On the note of that kind of like being able to play around with it and the look and feel of it and the extensibility, I noticed that you are all using storybooks for people to be able to like see these components and mess around with them as well.
Yes.
Which is like a really neat tool also if you want to, reskin the entire thing and come up with a new design language for it.
Funny, that was my first project on the team, actually.
Oh, really?
Yes. Nice. So when I joined last year around November, and my boss and Shen and my tech lead, Nicola, they were like, so we're trying to think of ways to present all these components where people can like play around with them.
Yeah.
Can you build something, that represents it? So I was like, oh, okay. And we started exploring different options, and Storybook kind of stood out as a very well-supported community product that is not only for showing, but also for isolating your components in order for doing development and testing as well.
Yeah.
So we built this in order to showcase the components. But I think we're also slowly, we've been including functionalities for our own benefit of, how do we isolate these components in development, and using the front end aspect of it to test different versions of components to look and feel from time to time. So
that's awesome. Very cool. Neat. Hey, Mr. Khan, thank you for joining us. So yeah, thank you for explaining what Microsoft Graph Toolkit is. Should we dive into the project and have a look around?
Sure, let's do that. So
I think the Hacktoberfest Discord has just woken up. We've suddenly got a bunch of people over from there. Thank you all for joining us. Good morning. Is that screen ready to add?
Yes, I think so.
Cool. Here we go. Wonderful. Awesome. So yeah, it's on GitHub, and I posted that link in chat already.
Cool, thank you. I'm just now looking at my own screen of my camera. There's this like just super bright light right behind my head.
It happens, I get a fun one. If I lean forward, which is really awkward because I do it when I'm listening, you'll see that my forehead turns into a green screen for certain parts where the light shines off of it. Anyway,
I don't have any other light in this room, and the bigger one is the overhead one. Anyways, so yeah, I think you said you already shared the link with everybody.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Cool. The other way that you can access it, we made a short link. So if you go to aka.ms/mgt, that also works. So this is too small, isn't it? Oh, it doesn't make this bar bigger. Okay, never mind then. So we are in a repo, and this is our main branch. You can see it's pretty basic. Your web components. We use Alarna to do the build system and packaging behind the scenes. You can use Yarn to install all the dependencies or npm if you want to. I think I actually don't know. Yeah, I think both works.
Right.
So the README
we were talking about.
I'm sorry, say it again.
I said that was the giraffe we were talking about.
There's all this graph.
With the spots of graph is so good.
On the giraffe as well, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I forgot. It's actually in the bedroom. I can't go get it now. But I bought a giraffe ears.
Right.
That I can wear for these events, because I don't know if you guys have seen our other streams. Nicola always wears a giraffe suit, like a onesie.
Really?
So every time, yeah, he does. So every time I'm on these things, people's always like, "Where's the giraffe onesie?" And I was like, "Well, if there's two giraffes, it's not unique anymore. I gotta think of a different way." So he actually mailed me from Amazon these like Halloween costumes that has giraffe ear and like a bowl right here, and then there's a tail. Well, of course you can't see that part, but I've been keep
That's
forgetting about
amazing.
that. Sorry, if we have time,
I need to tune into some of your streams.
if we have time later, I'll go grab it and put it on.
Sorry, you were saying about the README.
Yes, so if you scroll down about the README, this is more user-centric.
Right.
We actually don't really talk about how to set up the project or such in this section. Is mostly talking about like what the toolkit is, what are the components, how do you add your providers, all of these getting started source of adding the component in your repo. I think we are in this session wanted to focus more on how to contribute to the graph toolkit, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but I guess it makes sense to start talking about like how to use the project for them people to understand what the context behind contributing is, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can kind of run through the structure just a little bit
more, that'd be great.
And then we can switch into maybe a quick demo on how to add it to your project, and then come back to like a little bit more advanced how to extend and build your own components.
That sounds absolutely ideal.
Okay, cool. So, all of these dot files,
right?
Setting up your project's strategies and, prettifiers. I'm not going to go into any of these. But the main folder that you wanted to look at are, I think, two of them. One is the .storybook folder, and then the other one is the package folder.
Right.
So if we go to the packages, these are all the packages that we plan to release on V2. In V2, V1, they're all in the same one. And now that we have more components, we're thinking about breaking them apart so that you have, a core collection that everything needs, a MGT package and a MGT React package. And thinking about splitting up maybe providers, maybe something else, I don't know. And we're trying to get feedback from the community as well. So if you have like a strong opinion or anything, try to find the issue and comment on it for sure.
Okay, cool.
So that's what packages. And if you want to build a component, like I said, I'll come back to this just in a little bit. You would want to go to /mgt, and then most of the components are under source components, and you can find each components in their own folder. And let me know if I'm going too fast as well.
No, this is great.
It's always like,
for me anyway, if anyone in chat has different opinions, let us know. But
yeah, it's always like, what you already know, but then people are like, wait, what was that? So .storybook has all the configurations for Storybook.
Yeah.
But the actual stories are in the stories folder.
Okay.
So each component has their own stories.
Right.
And if you wanted to, write your own quote test stories, or wanted to look at how the MGT dev stories are written, you can go look at them.
Cool.
We also have a sample section, which is kind of like not for each individual component, but for like a collection of something that actually makes a simple scenario that could be reused.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. The samples folder has all the kind of different
frameworks.
Sorry, say it again.
So the different frameworks that you could use this in.
Yes, for sure. So examples kind of has all the one pagers where you just host this page behind the scenes, and you can with MGT installed, and you can see like what's happening. Yeah. But then, excuse me, like you said, more platform specific. Like if you've written a React app, how to edit SP, SharePoint web part, Teams tab, those are enabled with the providers that we have out of the box in order to host your solutions within the SharePoint environment, or Teams environment is a very big popular one right now. And then we kind of wrote the proxy provider samples for ASP.NET Core and ASP.NET MVC for the .NET community. because a lot of people were also asking, like, what if I already have my authentication backend and I wanted to, connect the front end with it using my own token, and how does that translate? Going back to the main, I think that's about it with all the, most of the files that you needed to know. I'll come back to it in a little bit just to point out like more important files or a starting point of how you would get started. But we can dig a little bit deeper into, from a developer's perspective who wanted to use Microsoft Graph Toolkit as part of their code. How would that look like? I think I saw a question earlier.
There's been a couple. Someone was asking about pipelines, which is kind of a tangential topic. Musicant just asked if we can highlight where and how we'll contribute to the project, which we will get into shortly.
Okay, sounds good.
So yeah, I think we're covered on questions.
So let me pull up my terminal. I'll put this. I think this is fine. Okay, make it bigger. So I'm gonna make a directory for Hacktoberfest and maybe just cd into it. So there's nothing in here. I just created it. I'm gonna just create an index.html page in here real quick, and then open Visual Studio Code as in this folder as the space. Also make this thing bigger. That good?
That looks perfect to me. If anyone in chat can't see it, let us know. Someone in chat said, nice wallpaper. There's appreciation for your line.
I've got a couple of different ones. Hopefully the Totoro shows up later.
Oh, nice.
So they kind of rotate every like 10 minutes or so. Okay, so I'm just gonna start with a boilerplate. If you type in this exclamation mark, it creates a default page for you. Cool. So we're gonna call this demo, and then like I said, the first thing is to install MGT as a dependency or import the script tag as a dependency. So what I'm gonna do is over here, anything that you wanted to know about Microsoft Graph Toolkit, this documentation, you go to aka.ms/mgt docs. And on the side here is get started. You can see there's also, brand new get started guide for different platforms. So I'm just gonna scroll down this page and try to find the script tag that I was looking for.
Cool.
The loader is the package that includes everything. If you know that you're gonna be using, ES6 modules, you can use npm install. And we do have a preview package as well. So if you want to try the V2 preview, will be at Microsoft/MGT at next. Or you can import each module individually. So anyways, I just copied the loader file. I'm gonna come back here and just drop it right under the body tag. So here it is. And then the next thing that you would want to do is add a MGT MCell provider. And all of this thing needs is a client ID. I'll leave it blank for now. And then the other thing that you wanted to do is add in login component. So do you think I should quickly show how to get a client ID, or should I just use the existing one?
Let's go with it. Give it whichever works best for you. I know that sometimes in different APIs it's useful to see where the client ID comes from, but equally whatever you think is useful. Okay,
so this is a AD client ID when you register your application with Azure Active Directory.
Right.
To enable authentication through the graph. I can quickly show that. I think it's going to take like 2 minutes.
Yeah, I think getting client IDs from Azure Directory is definitely something worth Active Directory rather than definitely something worth covering.
So I kind of just, people always assume that, everybody just know about this, but sometimes it's hard. So I'm just going to sign in with my own account. You can sign in with whatever Microsoft account that you fancy that could own or should own, this application. So what I'm going to do is in Azure Portal, I just went to portal.azure.com in my own Microsoft account. And then I'm going to go to Azure Active Directory right here, or you can search.
Yeah.
And then on the left side, there is one column. It says app registration. I'm going to click on that. And I already have like a bajillion of them. So I'm just going to do a new registration. Oktoberfest demo will be the name of the application. Here's the account types. Sometimes it could be a little confusing. So single tenant means that the app can only be installed in the tenant that I'm signed in to register.
Yeah.
Multi-tenant means, if you have other organizational directory, they can also, with the permission of their admin, they can also be installed in their tenant. The third one kind of just includes all your personal accounts, your Live or Outlook or whatever.
So I guess to break that down in terms of like use cases, like single tenant would be like good one if you're just making like an internal tool for yourself or a developer environment. Multi-tenant is like, hey, you're making an app for other people that you like to use.
Yes, especially our partners use the scenarios a lot, right? Like if you're building a software that that you're going to distribute to multiple tenants as like School 1, School 2, or like Enterprise 1, Enterprise 2, all to be able to use your app. That would be like the second one. Third one would just support personal accounts as well.
Right.
So I'm actually going to select this third one because I wanted my test tenant to be able to sign into it or to test if my personal account would work. So that's what I'm going to do. And then also do HTTP. So localhost 5500. I'm choosing this port because that's what the live server uses.
Cool.
So I'm going to create register, but you can choose whatever port, or if you're using like a secure URL to tunnel, use ngrok or something, put those URLs there as the redirect URL. So here I have an application kind of registered already with, just now application ID or tenant ID. So I'm just going to copy the app ID.
Cool.
And the other thing that's worth noting is I need to go to token configurations. Nope. Authentication. Yes. I don't really have a logout redirect set up for this, but the key thing is if you want to use implicit grant in order to get access token and ID token, don't forget to check these two boxes.
Right.
I think we're all set. I'm just gonna click save. You can also, set up certificates or API permissions if you're a tenant admin in order to not have permissions requested every time the app a user is trying to, or an app is trying to access the user's data.
Yeah.
So like I said, I'm going to go back to the overview page. I think I already copied the client ID. I'm just coming back here and drop it right here. So saving it. Now I'm going to go live. Right here in the right corner, right bottom corner, it's the live server plugin from Visual Studio Code. It says port 5500. So coming back here. It's loading. Slowly for some reason. There it is.
I did not know about that live server plugin. That's super cool.
So you can use, if you're, I used to use Python behind the scenes, but this is just like one click and then you're done. So here's the sign in button. Nothing fancy. I haven't signed in a user yet.
Right.
But if I click on it, you know what? I'm gonna use Edge real quick since it remembers all my credentials.
Yeah.
I actually don't know. Does Chrome have it too? Maybe it has it too. Oh no, it has profile too. Yes. So I'm gonna go to localhost again. Here my default profile is a like a tenant user Megan. The same as Megan. So I'm gonna click sign in. And here is when the application is asking for the permissions that the login component is potentially accessing. So you wanted to grant it or not, it's up to you. I'm gonna click accept. Oh no. 5500.
The demo gods are spiteful.
That's why. No, I think it's always the So the live server, the other thing is it also uses, when I register with Azure, also uses 127.0.0.1.
Right, I see.
So sometimes the redirect gets, let's see if this works. Wait, what did I do? Actually, let's go back and look at this. This application ID, P1,
That's
P0, yes. Redirect.
So you change from localhost to the 127 address?
I think we should be fine. Maybe it's this that's messing it up. I'm gonna change it back to not secure.
Yeah.
Since it's localhost, and try this again. That's probably why, is my guess. Oh, sorry. Let me just close both of these. Oh, I didn't click save, did I?
It's all good. It's,
the 431 error is like a new node thing that keeps happening to me. Also,
interesting.
Because the header, it's complaining that the header is too long for sending a request, and you can change that in your node configuration. Yeah, this worked.
Nice.
Okay,
Cool.
sorry guys, that was
so what was the fix there?
So localhost by default is not secure.
Oh,
so
I see.
when I was putting it in, I put like HTTPS.
Yeah.
So it didn't know how to redirect back to like a secure endpoint with no secrets or certs. So that makes sense.
Nice.
Here it is. This is Megan signed in with just, I don't know, 5 to 8 minutes with the errors that I made that we added into our code.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, it's really just 2 lines, right? So that's what we've been telling people. It's super easy to add authentication, so you don't have to worry about all these scenarios anymore.
Yeah.
And now I could add something like MGT agenda, which is going to give me all of Megan's. Sorry, 1 second. So every time that we add a new component,
it needs to reauth.
Yes, so not really auth, but well, yeah, but MGT tries to request permissions.
Right.
When you add more components.
It's asking for the minimal set of like permission scopes every time. So like whenever you add a new thing, it has to update those permissions, but still a really nice default.
Exactly. So what I'm gonna do is normally I would create a scope object and add all those in there, so as someone don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So as a cheating, I'm just gonna use another ID that I already know that works. So
wait, what is this magical clipboard thing?
I think they started charging. When I started using it, it was free. So it's called Paste. And like you can organize your clips in different groups. So with like color coded stuff. So it's very nice.
It's by WeTransfer. Huh. Super cool.
I actually don't know.
Sorry, I got excited about that because they're a Dutch company. They're here in Amsterdam. So that's just me nerding out. Anyway. Cool.
Anyways, like I said, I'm gonna cheat a little bit. Just use a client ID that I already have a lot of authentication set up in the background. So I'm gonna save this, and this Megan is actually a admin in that tenant, so all of the permission works. So here it is, MGT agenda. If you want to do something else, you could do. Oh, it does that? I didn't know that. Okay. You could do people would be something like people that you work with, and you can like I said, you can add attributes like what's the other one, max. So I could show max maybe. Instead of 3, I'm gonna show 7 here. Right. So anyways, just a little bit of how to use MGT. So I'm gonna get back to
that's super nice.
How to build with it.
Okay.
So switching back here to the components, what you would want to pay attention to are a couple things. How about I just pull up the project real quick?
Sure.
here. I'm also gonna dispose this port and close this. And I'm in my Microsoft Graph Toolkit directory now, so actually in a different branch, but that's okay. I'm gonna stash them. And then go into main. Okay. And then I'm just gonna make sure that I have the latest stuff. Okay, cool. Now I'm gonna open Visual Studio Code in my directory, which I have the main exe3. That's this guy.
That nice little code shortcut in terminal, which one of our past guests walked us through doing. Very nice.
That's cool. Yeah, it's like when you're doing this every day, you kind of just like,
yeah,
it's like
autopilot.
Yeah, finger muscle memories kind of. So let me just collapse all of them here. Can you see this side okay?
Yeah, that looks fine for me. And if anyone in chat's having problems, let us know, but it looks good on my screen.
Okay, cool. So like I said, we are using Yarn as a installer tool. So when you first clone the project, the first thing you want to do is probably Yarn install.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have like multiple versions of Node.
Yes, I have to do this every time. I go through this local development dance every time where it's like, I'll do the command, it won't find it. I will then try to remember which version manager I'm using, get that command wrong a couple of times, eventually get the right version manager, find the right version of Node, and then get there.
So it's a natural cycle. It's all good.
Yeah. It's okay with Node. It's Ruby because like I've bounced through like 3 different Ruby version managers, and I can never remember which one I'm now using.
Now you're switching between production and coding.
Well, in the end, I just ended up aliasing like a command called versions, which just prints out all my version managers.
Anyways, where were we? Oh, install. Yeah, let's do Yarn install real quick. So, behind the scenes is looking at my package.json file, and Yarn install probably, like, first of all, it does all the installs of the dependencies. Cool. There's also some other stuff it was doing, such as adding headers, or as it's building, it's like, that's part of our default project, right? Like if we wanted to add some Microsoft language in the new files. So every time it builds, there are certain things that happens. You don't really have to worry about those. Cleans up the CSS, kind of builds these SAS files in order to add them as part of the CSS and insert them into each file. Stuff like that. I haven't worried too much about Yarn. So if you're contributing, I don't think you should be. If you're running into issues, or if you wanted to help us better our pipeline or something, that's a new other issue that I don't think I can talk about today.
Cool. No worries.
So I'm gonna go to packages, MGT source components. I'm gonna use maybe which one is the easy one? I'm gonna use MGT person as an example.
Sure.
So mainly 2 files. One is your TS file, one is your SAS file. The thing that's worth noting is all of the components is extending a template.
Cool.
So this resides in the MGT element package, which has our base component and the template component. So base component is where all the basic logic happens, and also template component extends that in order to enable components to use web component templates. And we have, like, these are, if you're building a new one, you probably want to import this file and extend it. I assume that you wanted to include template as part of it.
Right.
So going back to people picker, some of the other basic things are, lit element, obviously as part of web components. The graph calls, as you need them, they are also available to you in the graph folder, if I can find it. Maybe I cannot. No, I don't know where they are. Oh, there they are. The graph folder has all the basic calls. If a call is centered around a group, then it's in the group graph.group. If it's people, then how the endpoint is /me/people. Those sort of things. And then I think that's mostly here. And if you wanted to set up, so all of these little pointers help us set up the custom element JSON file. So when we built the project, they would pull from the comments to build the custom element JSON in order to render a lot of different things, such as the React package and the storybook. So if you're looking to have your component rendered correctly as part of those, then you would want to write good documentation following what we already have.
Cool.
Coming down a little bit, just pretty basic. If you want to declare your what's it called, attribute, it'll just be as part of property. This is the lit element. Cool. Syntax. So as you can see, when we were, am I in People Picker now? Sorry.
Yes, looks like you are.
I meant to show a person, but
okay, cool.
This is fine too.
Yeah.
I guess if you're looking at attributes that's available for each component, then like people is a variable, show max or selected people, all of these things the developers can use so far as how you define them. So coming down to, are these worth noting? You guys can figure this out. Connected callback is something that we always do at the beginning. I know it's hard to get into a new repo and look at the code and say like, oh, these are the essential things that we need to do. But I mean, our team's here to help though. If you are interested, definitely let us know. And we are also very interested in getting people to start building their own components as well.
Nice. This is a great tour in terms of like where to start looking for things. That's always like the first challenge is just getting a grasp of the shape of the code base. So this is really useful.
Yeah, for sure. So the render function is your main page render, and this is going to render a couple more templates inside of it, depending on how many different parts of HTML structure that you're looking for. So if I pull up MGT People Picker in the dev tool, then you would see like selected people is probably part of it, and the input is part of it, and flyout is part of it. So there's like 3 divs within the render div. That's probably how it's how it would look like, or here is how it would look like. So I mean, you just kind of have to step into, click on selected people and see how these things are rendered. I just clicked the command click. If you wanted to jump into the next function, I can click on render flyout to go look at how render flyout, the flyout HTML looks like. And such. And login might be the simplest one. So this might have the shortest amount of code. You also have a collection of functions where you wanted to your own code to access versus you wanted to expose to developers to extend them. So that's up to you how you wanted to. I guess it's up to our team how we wanted to expose them, because this is all open source anyways. Cool. Does that make sense? I feel like I glossed.
It does, yeah. No, it does. Sorry, I was looking at I've been poking through the project as well while I was doing this, and I was frantically Googling something I didn't understand. No, I think you haven't glossed over everything. I think it makes sense. If anyone in chat has any questions or opinions on that, do let us know. But I think that definitely makes sense in terms of like, understanding the hierarchy of components and what you need to look at when you're writing your own or contributing to one.
Yeah. So another thing is how to run the project, right? Like say that I'm just made some updates to, I don't know, person or something, and I wanted to look at how it looked like. So the project I just run install all the dependency. So what I could do is do yarn build. Let's see, we build the right command now. I have to double check 1 second. So if I go to, package.json as your friends, right? Here's all the commands that's available. So I'm gonna do run build real quick. And in this step, I think we're also building the custom element JSON file right here. If you remember that this goes through our source folder and pulls the components out based on how you define them. So you can see here's like all the attributes that you defined. Here's all the properties that you defined, events, CSS properties. These are all part of web components. If there's a slot, there's going to be like another slot, whatever section. And this powers. Oh, I know why. This is because I was editing something. Let me dash this too. Oh, because it's untracked. Okay, that's okay. Here, what I'm gonna do is let's do this.
Okay. Love some live debugging. Which also, again, I've got to highlight people who came in the show. It's like 4:30 a.m. for you right now. So I am endlessly impressed you're able to actually even like put together code right now.
The reason I know exactly why it's complaining because I've been messing with the CSS.
I see.
What's it called? Variables, and it's probably complaining something is not defined correctly, but I also don't want to change that right now.
Okay. Sure.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make a temp folder. I think this is a fast way. It's probably not the right way to do it, but what I'm gonna do is git clone this project again, so it's clean from the beginning, so we can like look at it without messing with my local branches.
That makes sense.
GitHub. You know what? I'm just gonna pull this thing. All right, bear with me for like 2 seconds.
No worries at all. Welcome, Program Play and Chill. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, and then I'm gonna go into here.
Cool.
Like I said, yarn install all the dependencies. And then I should probably refresh the workspace as well real quick.
Yeah.
Pour myself more coffee on the side. Let's see if there's anything else that we should talk about while it's installing. Providers is a big one as well. I guess we haven't really talked about what they are, or like, kind of in depth. So a couple providers that we have, MSAL stands for the Microsoft Authentication Library, which is the most well-known one, I guess. So that's the provider that I added to the sample that I just showed you guys. SharePoint provider handles the SharePoint auth. Teams provider helps you add your application on Teams tab. We also have a proxy provider and a simple provider. Simple provider is like the base of the providers for people to extend.
Yeah.
Proxy provider allows you to open up a proxy between your backend and the front, like a /API or whatever endpoint for your for you to build a controller in order to access your, the right tokens, because there's a lot of concerns about handling passing tokens between front end and back end, and some scenarios it's allowed, some scenarios it's not. The single sign-on is a scenario where like you can't really peel open the token without triggering some sort of security concerns. So this is another way of us saying like, oh, if you wanted to use us as a front-end library versus utilizing the authentication, you can also use it this way.
Nice, that's awesome.
So if you want to contribute to the providers, here's where you find them. It's really taking a while. Oh, it's probably, it's brand new, that's why. So we're just gonna let it run as I run through the rest of them as well. These are all the helpers that we
Yeah.
have in the project in utils utilities folder.
For utils.
Utils. A batch helper
Cool.
for helping with the batch graph requests.
Mm-hmm.
It is recommended in the best practices. Sometimes it's kind of hard to inspect all the calls if you're looking for data, but there's ways to do that.
Right.
Cache is a new feature for V2.
Mm-hmm.
We are kind of making this making a stand of making it a framework at this point, because people are like, what if I don't want to do front end caching myself? Can you help me have like a quick way of doing this?
Yeah.
So we created this whole object where you can configure, what are the stores that you wanted to enable in order to have graph calls cached in your front end.
Cool. I was about to ask what kind of things would like people be looking to cache in usage of this.
Because even though the calls are not priced per API or per requests, you still want your web app to load relatively fast in order to achieve that good user experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
We could also look at some of the stories real quick. So if I go to stories, components, and for example, for maybe person story, sure. These are, if you're familiar with Storybook, all you need to do by adding another story is you just need to export another one of these and then give it a name, add a component from your something that you already built, and then import it as part of the page, and then it'll automatically load for you.
Awesome.
And we can let's look at mgc.dev.
Yeah.
About that while it's installing.
I love Storybook. It's such a cool. Oh, that was loading for me earlier. It's probably because you're doing that big build in the background, right?
Yeah, significantly slowing down because we installed. That's okay. So right here, sorry. I think this install would probably run faster if I didn't have one computer that's powering like 2 screens and teams running behind the scenes.
And being in stream. It's okay. My computer right now that I'm streaming on is running literally a browser, and it's 93 degrees. So Celsius, that is. So they're all going to explode.
So I'm just, I'm a little surprised it's actually it's not done yet. Anyways.
Yeah.
So this is a playground that we built for people to explore all the components.
Right.
On the left side, you can see a list of all the available ones. On the right side is the canvas where we split it into 2 parts. Actually 3 parts, but I closed the other pane.
Right.
Because there's nothing really going on there for the add-on section. So this is how the component looked like, and we also have a live code editor that you can plug into your live coding something in order for it to like change. So if you want to see, for example, MGD agenda, what can I put in there? I can also click on the docs tab, scroll down and see like, oh, here's all the things that I can use. For example, if I do group at day, this is going to allow me to show events group at day. So I'm going to copy it, come back to Canvas, put it right here. And now it's group by day. And you can also do like dates equal something, then it would show all the events starting from that date. I can also show person card a little bit. This is one of my favorite things to customize. I think it's very fun. So if I go here and copy all these JSON and just say like insert a query.
So easy just to grab.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm saying query equals me. I'm going to give it an ID. I think it's also me. And then go to the JS file and just run this all here. Then everything is customized.
Wonderful.
So if you want to use it as a front-end component, you could totally do that.
Yeah, super neat.
There's also a lot of CSS custom properties that you can tweak.
Right, which comes back to what we were talking about earlier about like right now it's all styled to look like 365, but doesn't have to be.
Like you can pick up, this is our people picker that connects to your tenant for people that you constantly work with. But we also have a dark mode.
Of course, the obligatory dark mode.
And right now it's achieved by tweaking all the custom CSS properties.
Right.
In V2, we're trying to build something like if you add a class name MGT dark, then it will automatically change it to dark theme. So that's coming. Keep an eye out on it.
Nice.
It should be done.
Is there like a timeline for V2 at the moment, or is it still just like when it's
we done? Actually just released a
cool.
I think it's preview 3 now.
Cool.
So we're kind of gathering feedback for how people feel about these developer experiences that we kind of designed.
Yeah.
So your opinion really matters if you want to come check it out. And for the V2 tags, look at all the issues and let us know what are the ones that you're happy with, not happy with, so we can change that before it's released. Yeah. I want to say later in November, but it's really not a set date, so I don't know.
It'll be done when it's done. It's fine.
So, okay, here I open up another code workspace where the new project was installed. And what I'm going to do is do a yarn start. Let's see if this works. MVM use 14.5.0. I wonder if there's, I wonder if you can change this in your bash profile. You must can, I don't know. Start. So start command, goes into look at your main directory and then picks out this index.html, which nothing really fancy in it. We're just loading the scripts, pulling from the project, and then giving it, listing all the components right here. There's really nothing in it.
Yeah.
So is it loaded? Yeah, it's loaded.
Nice.
So like just a running list, literally, of all the components for people to test. So if you're specifically working on, say, People Picker, and I could just comment out, I don't know, everything else, save it, and it's watching behind the scenes.
Right.
Right now there's only People Picker.
Nice.
The other thing that people always ask, and sometimes even like new developers on our team would also say like it's a little confusing, is what call it? You might want to have like multiple what's this called, terminals for it. So now I have yarn start running in the background, right? Like what this does is every time you change any project files, including the CSS, it'll be the start command is watching it. Is the custom element JSON generated? Oh darn. So what I'm gonna do is run yarn storybook. I think my coffee's wearing off. MVM use. So this command generates all the files that Storybook needs and builds Storybook behind the scenes.
Nice. So you have it running locally rather than having to go to mgt.dev. Okay. Yeah.
So as the yarn starts still working, does this work? No. It's still compiling. Okay, we'll let it go. A little bit. So slow. I swear it's because there's so many things running.
Yeah.
Anything? I could show you guys where to find the news about preview. How about that?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Let it run in the background. Sorry, guys, for a little context switching back and forth.
Oh, good.
Sometimes. So if you want to look at our the redesign, where'd it go? There it is. Releases. It used to be right here.
Yeah, the new GitHub UI trips me up every day.
So V2 Preview 3 is the newest preview that we have for V2. You can install it by using, I think, at Microsoft/MGT@next. This is tagged as next. If you want to look at everything that's current, then you go to 2010 as our current iteration, October sprint. Yeah, that has all the tasks that we're working on. We created this board community love, so that we tagged a lot of, first good issues, things that we really want people to help us with. Ignore the priorities. It's kind of like very nice to have, but because that we are not necessarily committing to it, so it's a low priority for our team. But we would also really love to see them. So bear with me for that one. The other projects are, we have a bug board, storybook board. If you want to look at them, some component specific boards. I think this one needs to be retired by now.
It's nice to see a project that actually is using GitHub projects and has laid it out for users rather than just like an internal thing as well. It's very rare.
There's so many times that are I've been asked to use VSO, but I'm just refused. I'm trying really hard to not say anything I'm not supposed to.
It's going very well.
If I go here. We recently started dev blocks.
Right.
And I just published this yesterday for how to use some of the new features for week 2. Nice. If you want to take a look, how the new person card is going to look like, how are you going to use Dark Theme. I included all the samples that we wanted to developers to use. If you have any questions, let me know. Should I drop this in the chat?
Yeah.
I will give it to you.
Yes, drop it in private chat. That way I can make sure the bot doesn't ban you.
Okay, how to configure cache, all the good stuff. So you can go read about that if you want to. I think it should be done now. Yay! Okay, now that custom element JSON is generated, I can run yarn storybook. I would also love some help to update storybook from 5.3 to version 6 if anybody is interested. It's been on my back burner forever.
That's a good first issue, Musakan, if you're still here. Musakan here? Doesn't look like it. Matt, who was one of our guests yesterday, said Twitch streaming is all about leaking things you're not meant to say.
Hopefully I didn't say anything. It's okay. Nobody from marketing watches Twitch, okay?
Yeah, it's all good. And if they watch, they better subscribe.
That is rendered now. So storybook is running. Yarn start is running. Now I'm going to localhost 6006, which is the default storybook for us. Here is where you would be able to test your stories. So we good?
Perfect. Yep. Awesome. So I was laughing at Floor saying my face makes people open up on stream and say things they shouldn't. Perfect. Yeah, that's awesome.
So I think that's the basics of everything that I wanted to touch on in the repo.
Yeah. Cool.
Definitely, if you want to work on anything that's not on the project board, let us know. Cool. I recently released a contest.
A contest?
I will send you giraffe toys and like Microsoft Graph branded swags if you contribute to our repo.
That's awesome.
And it doesn't really matter where you are. I think there's only a couple countries that we can't send things to.
Okay. In terms of, so you said if people want to do a contribution that's not already an issue, they should let you know. Is the best way to let you know to open an issue to talk about that, or is there somewhere else they should contact the team?
If you're comfortable enough to open up an issue and talk about it, that's the preferred way to do it. Sometimes our community can be a little shy. It was like, I don't really know if this is something that you want.
Right.
I don't want to make a fool of myself, even though I don't really care. Like I've done a lot of it's up to you. We have a help line right here.
Nice, cool.
So if you want to send an email to mgt-help@microsoft.com, this goes to our team.
Yeah.
But please don't abuse it, because I have to go through like permissions to publish this. Yeah. So this is the contest that I was also talking about. If you go to our repo, go to the contest.md.
I've dropped that link.
ignore some of this stuff. I have to include those there. It's all like legal language, but the part that's important is how to enter and eligible entry. And I'm not very picky on issues or contributions. So as long as it's not like a typo, I'm very happy to send you something to thank you for your contribution.
That's awesome. That's super cool. And yeah, the list of stuff, the actual prize: t-shirt, pair of socks, a backpack.
Yes. I actually have. I think I might have something. Actual Twitter on this doesn't matter.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. We might have a. I was gonna say I have a photo of what we sent to people.
Hey, that's a sticker.
Yes, a little bit ago. Let me find it. Sorry, there it is.
Nice.
So these are things that we started sending out to people.
Yeah.
And the socks has been like the really sought after one. And there's other, like we have the Sasquatch version of the socks.
Yeah. People are obsessed by sock swag. It's the Hacktoberfest Discord is just obsession about Vonage's socks. It's crazy. Yes, this will go down very well. The little octopus.
So let me have this. I'm also gonna retweet this again to
I'll grab that and throw that in the chat as well.
Uberfest? Should I try to? There it is.
But yeah, welcome everyone. In case you haven't seen, everyone, Twitter changed how retweets work this week, and it's very confusing for everyone.
MS/MGT. I will also tag you, Joe. I think.
Awesome. It's J_SH.
Sorry, say it again.
JNA. So get rid of the O.
JNA, sorry.
Yeah, that's all good. This is and then _SH. There I am. This is the exact struggle. Someone the other day was talking about like making a personal email domain, and I was like, don't do what I did because no one ever understands my username. And that's exactly why. Cool. Thank you. I'll tweet that. Sorry, I'll put that in the chat.
Okay.
Awesome.
Hopefully
cool.
That was helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for walking us through the project. And I mean, fundamentally telling us like what the project is and what it's about, but then also walking us through how to contribute and how to use it in such detail. That's awesome.
For sure.
Cool. Right. So yeah, I guess, is there anything else you want to mention before we jump off?
No, our team is very flexible. We really want to engage our developer community more and change the mindset of, a lot of people have been talking to me about if it's a Microsoft repo, it's like, thanks, but no thanks.
Right.
So we really want you to help us if you have the bandwidth and if you're interested.
Yeah.
And we're changing this culture. We want you to be part of it. So help us out.
Yeah. And if you're watching this and you're like, cool, I missed how to contribute, you can watch this recording on the channel after, but also you were on contributing today with talking about this project the other day. So I've just posted the link to that. Floor shared that earlier. So you've been all over the place helping get contributions to this project this month. Cool. So that is everything from us. So I will move you backstage and do the wrap up. Thank you so much for being with us again at such a painful time in the morning, and I hope you managed to survive the rest of your day.
No, thank you for having me. Can I do a shameless plug real quick?
You are very welcome to do all the plugs with.
I'm actually not running this. Some of the MVPs are running the boot camps, and if you want to further learn more about Microsoft Graph and the Graph Toolkit, Cameron and Ashish, they're both Microsoft MVPs. They're running a boot camp later my time, 6:30 p.m.
Okay.
So I don't know your time.
Too late, probably.
That'll be like a very good resource for people to go to, but just check it out if you want to. The M365 boot camps.
M365. Try again. Microsoft 365 boot camp. I will find that and put that in the chat before I head out. Cool, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Beth. Enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully you get some contributions from this chat.
Thank you.
Bye. Alrighty, thank you again, Beth. That was awesome. So just a brief recap of what we did. We spoke about Microsoft Graph, what it is, where it comes from, the background behind the toolkit existing, it coming out of a hackathon and kind of growing into its own project, the different ways that you can use and get involved with that project. And there's even a contest with swag and super cool things. It's a really very complete, the complete's what I want, a very complete developer experience with their storybook and the other utilities and tools that Beth showed us and linked to. Definitely looks like a fun project to contribute to. So that is our first show of the day. As I said, we have 2 more shows coming up, which you can find at twitch.tv RaisedDev schedule. Our next show is with Adrian Howard from Courier. And then our final show tonight is with Jennifer Davis, which actually, Floor is in the chat. That's all because of you. It's with Jennifer, who will be talking about the Porter project, which just recently got accepted into CNCF in the incubator. So that's going to be super cool. For the rest of the week, there's only 1 more day left. So just give you a brief preview for tomorrow. Tomorrow, we have Josh Zilak from Orbit. We have Stefan Young from Custom.io, and we have Corey Alexander coming on to show us some of his open source projects. So still packed with shows this week, 5 more shows to go. You can find it all at twitch.tv RaisedDev's schedule. And the final thing from me before I jump off, remember to scroll back through the chat. We've dropped really valuable links. This recording will be live later as well. But if you want to level up your developer career, you can sign up to us at raise.dev, where we will match you with one of our expert coaches who will help you get all the experience you need to get your first developer job, get a promotion, move from mid-level to senior, become an engineering lead, whatever jump you're trying to make, we will find a coach who can help you get the experience you need to do that. And we are completely free right now whilst we're in early access. So you can sign up at raise.dev. So thank you all for joining us. As I said, our schedule is packed. We've got 3 shows a day. And if you want to keep track of that and you want to get notified when we go live, you can follow us here on Twitch by hitting the little love heart and then hit the bell. It's a 2-stage process to get notifications. Hit the love heart and then hit the bell, and you'll get notified whenever we go live. Or you can follow us on Twitter at RaisedDevs, where we tweet an hour before every show, at least, often more. We tweet a lot about the shows and about the guests coming on, so you can follow us at RaisedDevs to keep up to date with everything that we're doing for the end of Hacktoberfest. Just 7 days of streams left, and then I'm going to sleep for an entire year. It's going to be great. But if you join us later today, I look forward to seeing you then. If you don't join us for another show today, I hope we see you sometime before the end of the month. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll catch you on the next show. Farewell.